Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. It is a beautiful sunny day and I am going crate digging. For what record, you might ask? And those of you that have been around for a while are going to laugh. I am looking for a Judy Collins record. That's right, I am purposely trying to find a Judy Collins record. You're not going to want to miss this.
Come out tonight, can't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight?
Welcome to Record-ology.
Now before we go looking for this record, I can't help myself. I have to stop and look at some of the tech here. Pretty slim pickings just like last time, which is really frustrating. I sure would like to find, a mini disc player, some sort of cool tech, some excuse for me to upgrade. But alas, I am seeing nothing of the sort here. So onward ho. So if you've been along for the journey for a while, you will know that I am haunted by Judy Collins records. She pops up almost every time I go record hunting. She's my arch nemesis in a friendly, joking sort of way. Although my wife actually met her in person, was not very friendly to my wife. So there's also that as well. Anyway, let's just say that when I come across Judy Collins, I never buy it until today. I purposely went out and I went looking for a Judy Collins record, and it didn't take long to kick one up. Why on earth do I want a Judy Collins record? There can be only one reason, right? That we want to destroy something. Well, you already know by the thumbnail. What we're doing today is we are going to do a real-world test on the RokBlok. That is the little player that drives around on your record and streams Bluetooth audio quite impressively to external Bluetooth speakers. But we're not testing that again, not today. We are simply going to let it drive on a record and see if it damages it or destroys it. Now, a couple of people have, based on our review video, if you haven't seen it, by the way, go check that out. About 4 or 5 days ago we did that. They said, oh my gosh, the weight of that whole thing on the needle, that's terrible. Well, the stylus is actually hinged up. So the weight is borne by the wheels, not by the needle itself. So the stylus sort of hangs down there, and I believe it does track heavy. I think Tecmone, said it exceeded a 5-gram measurement. So I'm guessing 6 or 7 grams. So let's go ahead and test this out on a good condition Judy Collins record, and let's see if it causes any damage. And if it does, it's a Judy Collins record. Nobody cares. We won't mind. Just kidding. If Judy Collins is watching this, I don't really have anything against you. It's just a fun thing for the show. All right, let's get busy, you guys. Might as well look at the slipcase since we're opening up a record here. Might as well take a look at it. It's kind of a cool sleeve there. The record itself is in good condition, which is all fine and dandy because we're going to destroy it. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're going to prove that, in fact, the RokBlok doesn't destroy it. And in that case, we're no worse for wear. If we destroy it, we're no worse for wear either. This is an Electra release, and boy howdy, this thing is flimsy. I mean, this is like Dynaflex flimsy, or even more so. It's super thin, maybe 120 gram pressing. So let's go ahead and scoot you up here a little bit, and we won't waste any more time. We're just going to turn this guy on and let it go to town. I'm going to turn the sound down because we don't want to hear this thing. And I'm being overly critical. You guys know I'm just teasing. We're just having fun. All right, so going to just drop it down here in the middle, I guess. The record condition is fine, as you can see. If this causes serious damage, we should, start to see a wear mark. So we're just going to let it go to town for a while. You can really hear that motor noise, by the way. And yes, I know this is a novelty, but, if it plays music and it's fun and it's interesting and it gets people talking, then you have records that you get from the thrift store like this. I paid $2 for this, and is it really that big of a deal? Does it really matter? You know what I mean? So okay, I think I'm seeing a wear mark, like right there. Am I? We might be proving the theory that these do in fact damage vinyl. By the way, something really interesting about these RokBloks is that they the needle is pushed through the groove. It's not pulled like on a regular record player. It's actually pushed. Wow, you guys, check that out. Yep. The RokBlok damages vinyl. So as you can see, it has left a noticeable mark on this record. We let it run for a few minutes here. So yeah, you can't deny it. This thing's probably tracking, 10 grams, maybe even a little higher. Records should be able to withstand, up to 9 grams, 5 easily, and then a stretch above that. But when you get up 10 grams in that neighborhood, you're just, that's just too much. There is a limit. This is a soft material, and this is just unfortunately tracking too heavy. Now, I would be curious. Now, okay, so let me back up a little bit. So if you had like a shellac record, it could potentially work on that because that's a much harder substance. The problem is this is only 2-speed, 33 and 45, and most shellac records are not those speeds. They're 78. So it's a bit of an issue. Now, if you have just like junk vinyl for a novelty thing, then yeah, I can still see a place for this being cool to show people how it works, but definitely don't put this on anything prized. Now, I'd be curious, might look at possibly doing some sort of mod to make this safer, but in its current form, it's definitely, there you go, guys. Better to happen to my record, especially my Judy Collins record, than to anything that you have. But while we're on the subject of damaging vinyl, let's go ahead and test another myth. Myth meaning it could be real or perhaps not, but let's test it out anyway. Suitcase players. Everybody loves to say suitcase players damage your vinyl, so let's test maybe this track over here, kind of in this range, with a suitcase player and let it roll for a while and see if it damages anything. Okay, so this is suitcase player. This is my Christmas suitcase player. I really hope it doesn't damage vinyl, although I don't think it will because this track's just over 5 grams, about 5.5 grams. But let's go ahead and test it out on some pretty good condition vinyl. Again, to recap, this is from the RokBlok. I'm going to drop it right before this cut over to this track, so right in this range, so we'll be able to see clearly what's going on. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and either destroy some vinyl or, on the other hand, possibly exonerate these suitcase players. So let's go ahead and drop it down and see what we get. And again, we're not going to listen to it. We're just going to let it play. And you're going to hear it a little bit. But we're mostly just here to see if this is going to damage your vinyl. Now, it's interesting because these players, there's different brand names, obviously. This is LP and #1 brand. There's Victrola. There's, of course, the Crosley Cruiser, which gets so much grief. All of them use, pretty common components. They use these components from a company called Skywin. So Skywin makes like the tone arm, the platter assembly, yada, yada, yada. And that's what we're really here to test. So if this common Skywin mechanism, either damages or doesn't damage, the record, we're going to be able to know for the whole category of whether or not that is the case. So let's just let it play here. So far, I am seeing a little bit of marking. Definitely nothing like the RokBlok, but I do see right before that groove, there's just a shade. You can see it kind of better. Where am I pointing? There, right there. A little over there. A little bit lighter. A little bit lighter than the other side there. Just going to let it play. This might damage my record player playing Judy Collins like this. But what a way to find out, just to test, right? And the threshold of damage versus wear is tricky because all record players work through the act of friction. You're dragging a chunk of diamond or ruby or sapphire through a groove on soft plastic. So there is an act of friction there. You're going to wear the record out. It's a matter of, are you going to do it in one play like we just did on the RokBlok, or are you going to do it over a period of time? And it may be the case that, we've talked before about, these suitcase players, wearing records out faster, but it's a matter of how much wear would it take before it would become noticeably different audio-wise or possibly causing any damage. Let's go ahead and speed it up a little bit. I'm going to flip it to 78. Now, in theory, at 78, there's going to be less pressure down there on the record, but it should give us a pretty good idea. So far, like I said, I'm seeing very minor shading right in there, but definitely nothing to the scope of that guy. I don't know, guys. It's kind of inconclusive. Maybe that was there already because we're already halfway through this track and I don't see any damage. That's interesting. Let's slow it back down again. Maybe it's because it's going so fast. Let's see if we're really causing any damage here. Honestly, I don't see anything after that groove or after that track marker. That makes me feel better about these. I wish the RokBlok didn't do this. I think that would be really fun, you know, to be able to use it more freely. Now, obviously, everybody's got junk records laying around or old scratched up kids records and stuff like that. Again, I think it would be fun. It's a cool thing to demonstrate, but yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing any damage on that groove. And that shaded area there, it's hard to say. Maybe that was there before, but this is a RokBlok. This is a suitcase player, and as you can see, it looks fine. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for today, guys. I'm feeling kind of dirty because I got Judy Collins' record in the house. I don't know where I'm going to bury it or put it, but I'll let you guys know in a future episode. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Happy record hunting. We will see you next time. I just realized something. I think this second shaded area right here is actually from the RokBlok because if you remember, I set it back down further along on the record and I bet you it did that. And that's why there's no damage to the area after it where I was playing this record player. So anyway, interesting.